hey, big brother, he's storing your email. He's storing your phone calls. He's storing just about all of your electronic communications. And little by little, drip by drip by drip, we're learning more and more about those government surveillance programs that critics call Big Brother. Wendy?
And government officials say it's all been worth it because it stopped more than 50 terrorist attacks. Gary Lane has the story.
The successes of the government's secret surveillance program were touted before Congress by the FBI and NSA. FBI Deputy Director Sean Joyce said Internet monitoring efforts helped the Bureau prevent a symbolic terror attack targeting the heart of New York City. In 2008, an al-Qaeda leader in Yemen planned to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. The intercepted emails led FBI agents to a Kansas City man and 2 other Americans involved in the plot.
These tools have helped us. The FBI disrupted and arrested these individuals.
NSA Director General Keith Alexander defended the massive government surveillance effort known as PRISM.
These programs, together with other intelligence, have protected the U.S. and our allies from terrorist threats across the globe.
But the program may be much broader than originally believed. While President Obama insists American phone calls are not being monitored, the federal government does have warrantless access to the private conversations of Americans. After the 9/11 terror attacks, President Bush authorized the NSA to plug into U.S. fiber optic network cables. That access allows the NSA to monitor emails, websites, video chats, phone calls, bank transactions, every aspect of communication in and out of the country. Gail Trotter of the Independent Women's Forum appeared on CBN's Morning News Channel show.
The problem is that we've seen in a lot of the scandals that have been cropping up over the last couple months that there's a deficit of trust. The federal government has made huge withdrawals from the trust account with the American people.
Members of Congress were aware of the secret surveillance program years ago, and many still support the massive monitoring effort.
The reason that we have that is to find a needle in a haystack, and you can't find the needle unless you have the haystack that is there.
And more details were revealed about Edward Snowden, the man who leaked classified information. The NSA director says Snowden was being trained as a threat operations center analyst. That's why he had access to a computer server that contained classified surveillance information. Snowden also revealed the U.S. listened in on phone calls made by Russian President Putin and hacked into Chinese government computers. And he says British government surveillance included the monitoring of diplomatic smartphones. President Obama suggests Snowden will be brought to justice.
Possible extradition.
Snowden is promising to release more classified information in the days ahead. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thanks, Gary. Just think of it, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be there. You know, the nice thing about God, he says he'll forget the transgressions and sins that you've committed. This thing won't forget anything. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, you do something wrong and bango, they've got all that stuff. They say, well, look at this, you know, you did this, you did this, you did the other. And they won't use it now, but anytime they want to access that database and query it on specific issues, then you can get a FISA judge to say, okay, go get them. Dangerous stuff. I know it keeps us safe, they say, but I'd rather have a little risk and a little less government intrusion. How you feel?
Seems like a colossal waste of time. I mean, ordinary Americans lead, for the most part, pretty basic, boring lives. Why don't they just profile and that just seems like it makes more sense.
Well, you mentioned the Israelis, you know, we were off camera, but the Israelis know how to target. You know, when you go to the airport, they have already targeted who they think are potential terrorists, and they focus on them. They don't just randomly take everybody and go through all these terrible things.
And guess what? It's working for them.
It works for them. They don't have problems. Anyhow, House Republicans have made a major statement on protecting the unborn. Lee Webb has that story from the CBN newsroom. Here's Lee.
That's right, Pat. The House has passed a measure that bans all abortions after 20 weeks. Republican leaders took up the bill after the case of Kermit Gosnell, the Philadelphia abortionist sentenced to life in prison for murdering 3 babies born alive. Republicans talked about the pain unborn babies feel during an abortion.
But what happens in a midterm or later
pregnancy when there is an abortion. What happens is just absolute torture. This bill is not just about abortion. This is about pain. It's about torture to that young life. And we can't say that this is like an amputation of a limb.
Once again, Republicans have decided to make women's health a battleground as part of their, yes, ongoing war on women. The bill on the floor this week is nothing more than a direct challenge to Roe versus Wade.
A woman is exempt if her life is threatened or the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest. The Democrat-led Senate plans to ignore the bill, and the White House has already threatened to veto it. The Tea Party protesters are taking on the IRS today in a major rally in Washington. The event is called Audit the IRS. The idea to remind Americans of the agency's abuses over the last 3 years, and it's drawing leading conservatives in Congress and elsewhere. CBN News will have a full report on the protest on tomorrow's 700 Club. Pat?
Well, I think the next story will show you exactly how bad the IRS is. They're supposed to be hurting for money, but they're getting ready to give out some whopping bonuses. Lee?
That's right, Pat. The IRS is about to pay $70 million in bonuses. In fact, that's despite a White House directive to cancel discretionary bonuses because of automatic spending cuts. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa says the bonuses should be canceled. He says the IRS always claims to be short on money, but has $70 million for union bonuses. The IRS, though, says it is negotiating with the employees' union on the issue. The House Judiciary Committee approved a tough new immigration bill. The legislation is enforcement-focused and would make it a federal crime to be in the country illegally instead of just a civil offense. It would also give state and local authorities the power to enforce federal immigration laws. Democrats say the bill is dangerous and disappointing, but Republicans say it's needed to ensure enforcement of the law. And the Senate is considering a bipartisan bill that opens the door to citizenship for millions. A new government report said that bill would boost the economy by giving legal status to an estimated 8 million immigrants now in the U.S. illegally. House Speaker John Boehner says any immigration bill passing the House ought to have majority support from Republicans as well as Democrats. Setting the standard that high, however, could make it tougher for the bill to pass. Mayors across the country are pushing against the use of food stamps to buy sodas and other sugary drinks. They say it would be an important step forward in the fight against obesity. In a letter to Congress, the mayors say, we need to find ways to strengthen the program and promote good nutrition while limiting the use of these resources for items with no nutritional value. The American Beverage Association says sugary drinks should not be singled out as a cause of obesity. Pat, what do you think?
Well, it's not a cause, but it's certainly a contributing factor. I don't know if they can buy beer on food stamps. I've seen people lined up, you know, with the checkout counter with cases of beer and so forth. I don't know if they allow that or not.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. But anything for a buck. But the whole idea of these sugary drinks is why should the farmers, you know, what is it, 46 million people on food stamps now? It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a nice program, but it's just gone out of control. And the stuff they put on them, I mean, you're going to have Hostess Twinkies, you're going to have all these fattening foods and things, you know, on food stamps. We shouldn't do it.
Yeah, you just get it. It's so easy to get addicted to sugar, and then you think you can't live without it. I know I've been there, but you can't.
Well,
you can't
you
do
don't
that.
have any problem with that at all, I can tell.
Well, not anymore, but you know, I think especially when you're younger and
Yeah.
you haven't been educated and you just go for that stuff.
Well, you kick the habit, but it is habit forming. It's the same physiological reaction you have to alcohol. It's the same kind. It's the, you know, sugar high, and you need to keep it going. But anyhow, Lee.
Pat, the American Medical Association now recognizes obesity as a disease. The group says the move will help change the way the medical community tackles this complex issue that affects approximately 1 in 3 Americans. The number of obese adults more than doubled from 1980 to 2010, and analysts believe that if the trend continues, the percentage of obese Americans could rise from 36% today to 42% by the year 2030. Obesity as a disease Pat, are you okay with that?
No, I'm not okay, because it'll give them protective status under the Americans with Disability Act, and then you can't fire somebody who's fat and so forth. I mean, the truth is, you know, down in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opera, they've got a hotel now. You've been, yeah,
oh, it's a nice hotel, yeah.
They've got a real nice food court, but there's a ramp over the food court, so you sit down and you watch these people walk over, and it is an eye-opening, appalling thing to see Middle America walking across that bridge. I mean, it is appalling.
It's the land of fried chicken and barbecue and, you know.
But high fructose corn syrup is in almost everything, and, you know, they try to make it like it's just a simple sugar. Well, it's not. It has chemical ingredients that are different than just simple sugar, for starters. But it's in everything, Wendy, just everything. And so not only do we sugar up, read the cereal labels of any cereal that you get, except two or three.
Usually the first or second ingredient.
Yeah.
You know, it's
high fructose corn syrup and then sugar, and then, you know, some other sweetener as well. But they're always sweet to make the kids want to eat more of them. But then the sugary drinks, 130, 40 calories per bottle.
I can't drink them anymore. You know, I used to have a Coke a day, and
you're out?
Oh, I stopped that years ago. I can't now. If I have even one sip, it just kind of makes me feel sick.
You are so healthy. I'm so proud of you.
No, let's be honest. I mean, I love my chocolate. I have to have chocolate.
Chocolate's
every
good
day.
for you. I'm a chocolate. I mean, chocolate is a health food. It opens your heart up.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
So yeah, that's why you're so healthy. All right, let's hear it for chocolate. But dark chocolate, not milk chocolate. Dark chocolate. Good stuff every day.
Absolutely.
All right. A recent surge in violence is raising fears of a civil war in Iraq. Nearly 2,000 people have been killed since the beginning of April. 2 suicide bombers killed 29 worshipers Tuesday in a Shiite mosque in Baghdad. At least 55 others were wounded. No group has claimed responsibility, but similar attacks have been carried out on Shiites by al-Qaeda. Iraq has also experienced a rise in political tension. Some of the largest protests in 20 years are breaking out across Brazil. Around 100,000 people are taking to the streets there. They're frustrated by poor transportation, health services, education, and taxes. Most of the demonstrations are peaceful, but some violent clashes are breaking out now between protesters and police in several cities. The unrest is raising security concerns as Brazil prepares to host the World Cup next year. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.